Today we are looking at God's faithfulness. It is one of the attributes that he announces to Moses. But is he really faithful? Is he really a God who is faithful to the end? Well, I'm not going to list every example in the Bible where he is faithful because there are too many to mention. But he is faithful, and we don't need to always look to Scripture to find his faithfulness. We just need to look at our own lives and we can see his faithfulness throughout. Whatever the season or circumstance, he is there. I think that I have a reasonable platform in which to speak. God never promises us a trouble-free life. In fact, and ironically, he promises us a troubled life. So in that respect, he is good to his word. But there are many other promises he makes. Probably one of the greatest promises he gives us is that he will never leave us, which coincidentally is my favorite verse. Hebrews chapter 13 verse 5. There are also plenty of other occasions that he says the same thing. He will never leave us. But before we skate over such a promise, let us put it into context. He says he will never, never. I will say it again. Never. There is no exceptions or if or buts. He will never. Now let us put it into context. How many times have we been faithful to our word? All the time? Sometimes? Or never? That is a rhetorical question, because most of the time our ability to be faithful and to keep our word is dependent on circumstance. Have you ever been the recipient of the words, "My patience is wearing very thin"? Or perhaps you have told someone that you have had it up to here whilst pointing vigorously at your head like a saluting soldier. If the answer is yes, then join the club. Been there. Got the t-shirt. But unlike our level of faithfulness, or rather lack of it, his faithfulness is never ending and is not dependent on our works or behavior. I find that often my level of faith with others is sometimes hinged on history or prior experience with that person. Often my level of faithfulness can go up and down depending on how that person treats me. Naming no names, but I remember a certain individual always turning up late. Every time we would agree a time, they would be late. Eventually it started to wear me down and annoyed me. Because of his subconscious attitude of showing our meetings no importance, it made the level of faith I held in his character diminish. Thankfully, God has no such humanistic mannerisms and is unfailing in his faith to us, his people, time and time again, regardless of how much we mess things up. The Bible is full of stories and examples whereby God is not only faithful but unwaveringly so. I will use my example once more. I think suffice to say most of you are aware of my situation. I'm 40 years old and barely been a father when motor neuron disease reared its ugly head. I have lost my ability to walk and talk. Lost my independence in every form of the word, and according to doctors I should be losing my life any time now. So do I get angry with God? Do I question his plan and purpose? Do I get jealous of the life I once had and others now lead? Yes, 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 on all counts. But do I doubt his faithfulness? Do I doubt he hears my cries? Of course I doubt. All the time. Never a day goes by. I'm just grateful that it is not by my actions or works, but by his unfailing faithfulness that I am able to walk through this horrible situation. He has shown his faithfulness countless times. He has surrounded me with people that love and care for us as a family. From the housing situation to give his work. From small things to the big ones, he is faithful. He has been faithful. He is being faithful, and he will be faithful. So can I encourage you now that if you're doubting, angry, or just fed up with God, you are not alone. For we all have these feelings, but perhaps you're in a situation where the picture is bleak and God is not showing up. I tell you this, he is there, he is listening, and if you're hurting, then he is hurting too. He does not promise our life will easy and free from trouble, but he does promise never to leave us, and nothing can separate us from that. He will be faithful right to the bitter end. But I think it's important not to box in his faithfulness. His faithfulness is in the big and the small. If you have some time today, listen to a hymn called Great is Thy Faithfulness by Thomas Chisholm. I thought it was a really suitable song for today's word. But after I skipped a few links on the internet, it was apparent that Thomas suffered for many years from poor health. And it was during these years of his body failing did he write this hymn. A powerful hymn written in a time of great discomfort further demonstrates his faithfulness. Have a great day, and since I might not see you, Merry Christmas.